Welcome to Road Bike Culture. I'm your guest, Amber Meier.
So I'm here at Fàbrica with Amber, owner of Fàbrica, the service course, and Espresso Mafia. Correct?
Yes.
And you're from Vancouver, Canada.
Yes. Yep, I am from the west coast of Vancouver, born and raised there, and moved over here to Spain when I was 18.
What made you move to Spain?
It would be Christian. So Christian's my husband, and he's the reason why we came over. We came over when I was 18. He would have been 22, 23, and he had his first pro tour contract. It was a stagiaire contract for, at the time, it was Garmin-Slipstream. And so we came over super young, super excited, neither one of us had ever lived in Europe before, but he knew that cycling is what he wanted to do. He wanted to give it a shot. He wanted to go where everyone was going, and that was Europe. And so he got this opportunity, and we didn't think twice. We came and started our adventure here.
Because Garmin-Slipstream has a camp here, right? They base out of Girona.
At the time, they were the only cycling team that had their service course here. They used Girona as their base. And so they actually really encouraged their riders, come to Girona, we'll help you get settled. They had an apartment, so you could come in right away, and they made the transition really easy. And so it was kind of a no-brainer. They made it super smooth, and we came and everything was taken care of.
So what was the genesis of the idea for opening Fàbrica?
Fàbrica was my salvation, in a way. And so we had been over here since I was 18, so 18 until 26. And I'd been supporting Christian. He had been cycling. It's hard being a cyclist because you're gone a lot out of the year. And so he was gone 160, 180 days out of the year. And when he was here, it was great. But when he was gone, it was really hard. And I wasn't able to really integrate myself that well here. I couldn't get a job. I still didn't really speak the language because in cycling, you live your life year by year, your contract by contract. And so now people always ask me, oh, like if you would have bought property when you guys first came over here, and it's true, but you don't think 10 years ahead in cycling. You think, okay, contract year. And so as the years started ticking by, I realized, okay, he's doing everything that he wants and it's great and I support him. But then after 8 years, I thought, okay, he did the Tour de France and we had been, I say we because we did it together. I supported him, he worked hard to get there, and we were building to do this event. And then he did it, the Tour de France. And we came back, and I don't know if I thought something drastic would change or if, okay, we've reached the pinnacle, now what? And so we came home and everything just continued the same. And I thought, this can go on for another 10 years, just cycling. And so I thought, okay, I've supported you, I've really enjoyed it, we've had a lot of fun, but I now want to do something for myself. I'm a people person, I love being around people, I have a lot of energy, and I love working. I said, we have to figure something out. And originally the idea was I was going to go back to Vancouver. I was going to be somewhere where I spoke the language and I had my community, and I was going to get a job there. And we had always had this tiny idea of either starting a little cafe or a little bed and breakfast or something. And we thought, okay, what if we tried setting up the cafe now? And it'll be my project and I'll pour myself into it and he'll still continue cycling. And that was kind of our solution.
Wow, that is, you just needed salvation from being a pro cyclist wife.
Yep.
So the order which you opened your businesses was Fàbrica, which is a cafe.
Yes.
A basic cafe geared towards cyclists.
Yes.
And then you opened Espresso Mafia.
Yes.
What was the reason for opening Espresso Mafia?
Espresso Mafia was the drive, work ethic, and passion of Christian. And so on top of being a professional cyclist, which is a full-time job, he was then here also putting his input and being behind the counter, and Fàbrica is a cycle cafe. So having him tied to it was extremely important. And so he'd be making the coffees, he'd be behind the bar, he'd be starting group rides from here. Then he realized, okay, the coffee we have is good, but it can be better. And he's very passionate about coffee. That's why we opened, is because there was no decent place in Girona. There was no third wave specialty coffee place. And so he thought, okay, our coffee here is good. We were getting it from Barcelona, but it can be better. And so he thought, I want to roast it myself. So he self-taught himself how to roast coffee, opened a new location, which was Espresso Mafia, started bringing in the beans, green, bought it first he bought a 500 gram roaster, then he bought a 3 kilo roaster, and now we're at a 12 or 13 kilo roaster. And he decided, okay, if I want this done, I want to do it myself because I want it to be the best product we can offer. So then we opened Espresso Mafia.
And then came the service course. How did that get started? Is that his passion project, or is it a combined passion project?
So that was a bit of both. So keep in mind, he's now a professional cyclist. We have Fàbrica, we have Espresso Mafia, and we just noticed the big gap in the market that was cycling services at the highest level possible here in Girona. So there were bike shops, they were renting out bikes, nice bikes, but there wasn't that level of luxury that Christian knew there was a market for. So since we had Fàbrica, we were getting so many clients coming in and asking, oh, do you know like where I can get a sports massage? Do you know a place that's open on Sundays? My bike is broken. Do you know anyone that can guide us? We want to go to Roca Corba. We heard that climb is super amazing. And Christian and I would be sitting here like, there's a lot of people who need a lot of services. And so we thought, okay, if we open this bike shop, what would we do? What would we kind of offer? And that's where Christian's experience in the Peloton and his experience with bikes for the past 20 years just started like flowing. I could see it just oozing out of his body. He had so many ideas of what he wanted to do. And so it was a no-brainer. It was like, okay, we open another one. And at this time, he was still cycling. And I told him, you can't do everything at 100%. And he was at the point where he was doing good in cycling. He was giving it all. But I told him, if you open the service course, you're going to have to choose. And so I left it completely up to him, whatever he wanted to do. And he was actually in the middle of a 2-year contract. And keep in mind, I was explaining the whole existence of our life in Europe had been like scrambling for that contract, praying for that contract. The stress would start in May or June, even though contracts didn't start till September, October. And it would be so stressful. And he was now in the middle. We had another year safe. And he talked to the team and he said, you know, I'm doing these projects. The team was kind of aware. And he said, I've noticed that my passion is now for these businesses. And I love cycling, but I want to give you guys 100%. And I'm going to start opening this business, this third business, and I feel it's time that I stop. So they left on really good terms. The team was super appreciative that he gave lots of notice, and he was then able to focus on building this, I like to call it empire, because he just wants to do everything. And so that's how it kind of came to be, is we saw all the services that were lacking, and he knew, I can do this. I can do this really, really good.
So would the future of the service course look like having it within that franchise, a Fàbrica, a Espresso Mafia, or would it be really what you do at the service course?
Each one will have a Fàbrica. And it started with Fàbrica, and the two go so well. You start your ride with coffee, you then go on your bike ride, you come back, you have lunch, and Fàbrica kind of brings everything together. And so having the two, we've realized, is like you create by having one, okay, you create half, but people eat, they drink, they have food. And so if you have two, you're taking care of 75% of someone's experience. So we can guarantee, if we're there, that they're going to have the same service from 9 in the morning, from when they rent their bike to when they get a sports massage to when they then have an afternoon coffee, lunch. We can guarantee that we're going to be able to give them 100%. We can't control the dinners. We can't control, the weather. But, okay, these things we can do. And then we figure it's a really good package to have all together. And so the idea is each service course has a Fàbrica. And they're all going to be owned by us.
Well, thank you very much for being on. I totally appreciate the interview. I love what you're making here. I love the product you're putting out. I'm really fascinated by the whole thing. And so thank you very much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. I'm glad you had fun in Girona. You had nice weather. And I hope you'll be back. Maybe you can try the other service courses when they're open. And yeah, should be a fun ride.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was great.